on this edition of the Self-Publishing Show.
The primary thing that the editors are looking for is fit with our audience. So we have a set list of categories. We've got our set audience of readers. Of course, it's always growing, but we have a very good sense for what that audience of readers is looking for in each of our genres.
Publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers, no more barriers, no one standing between you and your readers. Do you want to make a living from your writing? Join indie bestseller Mark Dawson and first-time author James Blatch as they shine a light on the secrets of self-publishing success. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Show with me, James Blatch.
And me, Mark Dawson.
It's a sign of summer. I've had to turn my air conditioning off.
Oh, I've got a big fan behind me, just over there, as you can see on the YouTube feed.
I know you had a big fan. You've got big fans everywhere.
I've got big fans.
Yes, we've actually got the air conditioning on in England, which is amazing. It's been beautiful weekend, and England are off to a winning start at the time of recording. And when this goes out in the Euros, they're playing the Battle of Britain in the evening against Scotland.
It's very true. Scotland are losing at the moment as we record this.
Yes. Good luck, Scotland, as well as England, apart from when Scotland are playing England. That's the way that works. Okay. Most people aren't interested in football. Welcome back to the show. Everybody, want to say a very hearty congratulations to one of our Patreon supporters. His name is Podrick Nally. Podrick, congratulations, because you have been awarded the Mark Dawson's Ads for Authors course at a very nice gift indeed. The course is given away to one subscriber to our Patreon account, supporter, I should say, patreon.com/self-publishing show. If you're gold level, you get an opportunity to win Ads for Authors, and the other level, silver, you get an opportunity to win 101. So thank you very much indeed for being a loyal supporter, Podrick, and I hope you enjoy, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, and I hope you enjoy the course. And we should give a shout out, Mark, because Ads for Authors is open. May open again this year, but probably not until 2022, we've decided, just because of the way things stack up at the end of the year. So this is your one and only chance to get into Ads for Authors. If you wish to do so, you can go to selfpublishingformula.com/ads for authors and read all about it. Everything you should need to know, will need to know, is there on that page. And you can email Mark, me, or anyone personally and ask us if it's going to be worth it for you. And we do often say to people, we do from time to time say, no, you're not really, we don't think it'd be best investment for you at this stage. But if it is, and someone wrote to me the other day saying they got 4 books, they've set one perma free and they've got the others, is Ad for Authors, I'm ready for that. And I said to them, yes, you're exactly ready for that. So I think it's exactly where you need to be. And in fact, I'm still pleased. I'm still making a small profit a day with one book at the moment, having tweaked my Facebook advertising campaigns for The Final Flight, which I'm really pleased about. So long may that continue. I shall try and slowly scale it up. What else have we got to say? Oh, I do have a couple of things to say. You haven't said anything, so I haven't asked you any questions yet.
Well, there's 2 Patreon supporters who've joined recently. So thank you to Stephanie Dos Santos in Texas and Kimberly Irwin. We don't know where Kimberly is. Thank you to both of those for supporting us on Patreon, which is always very much appreciated.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Stephanie and Kimberly. Now, I should also tell you about a discount code we have for IncasCon. IncasCon is an online conference which will be live from the 17th of July. It's organised by our friend Alexandra Torre, who's been on the show in the past. I didn't attend last year, but I did look at 1 or 2 of the sessions, and they looked very good to me. And I've seen some comments in the group from people saying that they thought it was well worth the money that they paid out last year, and they're going to go again this year. So they've got a really good lineup. You can find out all the details at incascon.com. IncasCon, all one word. And here is a coupon code just for you for listening to the Self-Publishing Show. If you type in Dawson, it'll save you $50 off the full price, which is a good discount to have. So just put in the code Dawson. It's in capitals here, so I imagine it might need to be in capitals. And I hope you enjoy IncasCon. I guess virtual. Go on.
That's also just because you don't pay attention to the legal requirements. That's probably an affiliate link, so we will get a little share of the ticket from Alessandro there. So just so that you know, but we don't recommend things that we don't think are worth your money or your time. And this is one of the conferences that I would recommend is worth having a look at.
I fly in the face of legal requirements. That's how I roll.
Yeah, there's a reason why our company's been going for 6 years, and it's me acting as kind of a lightning rod for these kind of legal issues.
The in-house legal team. That's you. I knew you'd go in-house at some point. Okay, that was a lawyer joke. Right. Something else to talk about is BookBub. Now, our guest today is the very wonderful Carlyn Robertson, who is going to be, I'm going to be chatting to her in a moment, and we are talking about, obviously, BookBub, its services, how it's expanded, how it operates. We start fairly basic for people who don't know what BookBub is and haven't used it yet, and then we get into the nitty-gritty towards the end of that interview. But what we don't do really is we talk about the ads platform, which BookBub has. We don't obviously have time in this interview to tell you how to use the ads platform, which is really useful, valuable information. That's exactly the sort of thing we teach. And so we have had Carlyn sit down and slave over a very detailed mini course, which is part of, or actually a full course, part of Ads for Authors. But in addition to that, we've persuaded her to join us live for a webinar, just to talk for 90 minutes or so and answer your questions, but to take us through how the platform is set up, how best to use it, some real tips and tricks to try and make sure it delivers value for you and you can find a profit or profitable way of running ads on the BookBub platform. It is definitely not one to miss. It'll be a very good presentation. That is next Monday. So this is going out on the Friday, so you haven't got long. It's next Monday, which is the 21st of June. So I hope you're listening to this in time. And if you want to register, you have to register in advance to be invited to the live event. It's free, of course. You can go to selfpublishingformula.com/BookBub. So selfpublishingformula.com/BookBub, and you will be a registered guest for the webinar on Monday night. They are very popular. Very occasionally, we bust that 1,000 limit we have. So just get there a couple of minutes early. If you're there on time or a minute or so early and you've got your seat, you'll be guaranteed to get in. I think if you arrive a few minutes late, there's a possibility if we've been really popular. But we tend to settle around the 700, 800 points of attendees, which is comfortable for us. But it's just a warning. Sometimes it does bust that limit. Good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that on Monday, Mark. We're in the middle of a busy period. Lots of learning to do. I mean, Inca's kind of perfectly set up for this environment, aren't they? Because they're all online, and we're doing quite a lot of that ourselves at the moment, but hopefully moving slowly 1 inch at a time outdoors at the minute. Although not too much outdoors, Mark, because you're suffering from the old hay fever. I think you should stay indoors.
Got hay fever today, but a good way to cure that is to just jump in the swimming pool. So I'm going to be doing that at some point this afternoon. It is really hot here. Yeah,
that sounds like a great thing to do. Okay, well, look, should we talk to Carlyn?
Why not? Let's do that.
Let's talk to Carlyn Robertson, and Mark and I will be back for a quick chat off the back.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Carlyn Robertson, welcome back to the Self-Publishing Show. You've definitely been on before at some point, haven't you? I think maybe I interviewed you in person somewhere.
I think so. I feel like I have been, at least a guest at some point, yes.
Yeah, and you're well used to all of this. And BookBub is such an important part. It's a funny thing, BookBub, isn't it? Because outside of this indie world, obviously you've got your readers list, which is huge, like 20 million odd people. But actually, it's not a name that travels beyond indie publishing. But within indie publishing, you're like the royal family.
Oh, that's very kind. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, the indie publishing world is certainly, that's our world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hugely important service. And we should probably start, because there might be people out there who don't know exactly what BookBub is. You could perhaps explain the service and what it offers to indie authors.
Absolutely. So for anyone who has not heard of BookBub before, or maybe you've heard the word BookBub and you want to know what all the fuss is about, we are a marketing platform for authors, publishers, book marketers, and a book discovery platform for readers. So we've got around 20 million readers signed up to use our services. And when they sign up to BookBub, they let us know which genres they like to read and where they purchase their ebooks. So we serve Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, Kobo, and Google, all the major ebook retailers. And the main thing that BookBub's known for is our featured deals email. So every single day, we send those readers an email with deals in their favorite genres with links to purchase at that preferred retailer. And all of our other tools that authors and publishers can use sort of spring from that beginning. And BookBub is now, 10 years old.
Wow.
9 years old. We've been around for a while now. So it was just featured deals in the beginning, but we've launched a lot of other tools since then to help readers discover books in new ways and then help authors and publishers get their books in front of that audience of readers who are looking for new books at a really rapid rate. Many of them are reading a couple books every month. Some are reading a book a week, a book a day. So they are always looking for new books. And we found that by offering that deal in the featured deals email, it's a fantastic way for a reader to take a chance on an author that they haven't heard of before and discover someone new.
Yeah. And this is now quite an operation. You send an email out every day to somebody who's a reader. It's a clever system because even if you're in multiple genres, I think the email's bespoke for you. You don't end up with 10 different emails, do you? It's a clever system.
Yeah. So if you're subscribed to one category, you might see one or two deals. If you're subscribed to all 40 plus categories, you might see a whole lot of books in your email. Yeah.
And despite the voracious nature of readers and how many emails you send out every day, you're massively oversubscribed in terms of those slots on the email from an author point of view.
Yes. So the way that we get those deals to our readers is authors and publishers submit books that they want to discount. I think we're getting an average of 300 submissions every day, and we keep a pretty limited number of spots in that email just to make sure that every deal we send out gets a lot of attention from our readers. So it's highly competitive to get selected for a spot. We have an editorial team that reviews every single one of those submissions coming in and selects the ones that they think will be most appealing to our readers based on the book's content, how appealing that deal price is, a lot of factors they're digging into. And I can of course talk more about the selection process if we want to get into that later on.
Well, we're going to talk about ads, which are more universally available. And that's definitely a platform that people need to know about and need to know whether it's going to be a big part of their marketing future. But let's just focus on the featured deal at the moment. As you say, it is something that people talk about, and it is without question. I know it'll be the most asked question to you is how do I get a featured deal? Because if you've not been through this process, and Mark and I have, and lots of other people have, you get a series of rejections, and every now and again it's like winning the lottery when you get a place on the email list. And I should say at this point, we had a series of books we were marketing for Fuse, and they had a very slow start, very low, and the BookBub deal was absolutely transformative for that series. I mean, I can't tell you, we had 34,000 downloads. It was free, put it to free for a day. And the book went from, I can give you the figures, it went from doing something like $17 a day to doing $450 a day profit. This is profit on top of ad spend. And now it's settled down after the BookBub tail's gone, which is 8 weeks ago. We're still at £250 UK. That's $300 a day profit. And that was BookBub did that. So if anyone ever says, well, do featured deals still work? I can tell you, they work sensationally well still. Maybe we caught the right genre or whatever. Anyway, they are definitely worth going for, and people will get those rejection emails. So yeah, you talked about it then, that there's a process. It's a human process, right? It's not a machine or a computer that analyzes the applications. So what are they looking for, and what's the best advice you can give people who are frustrated they haven't had one of these deals yet?
Yeah. So the primary thing that the editors are looking for is fit with our audience. So we have a set list of categories. We've got our set audience of readers. Of course, it's always growing, but we have a very good sense for what that audience of readers is looking for in each of our genres. And it's not always necessarily what might be most popular in that genre in the wider world of readers. So we're really trying to serve that unique audience that we have on our email list. So reader reviews are, of course, a hugely important part of that process. The editors will look at the content of the reviews, not just the total number of reviews or the average rating. They really want to know, what have readers loved about this book? Or what did readers maybe not love about this book? And how does that match up with what we know of our own audience and what they tend to gravitate towards? Obviously, the cover and the book description are a really important part of that. So they're looking at everything that a reader would use to assess whether or not they want to purchase a book, and using their knowledge and all the data that we have from the past features that we've run to inform which books they think are going to be most successful with our readers. And then it ultimately comes down to a numbers game. So usually there's a great number of books that we think would be a great fit for our readers. And we've only got maybe 1 or 2 spots left in the calendar. So at that point, they have to just do some really tough evaluations and comparing those 2 books and sort of deciding at this moment, based on that calendar and what else we know we're sending to our readers, which one is going to be the one that we send out. So the number one piece of advice I can give, and James alluded to this, is just to keep on submitting, because every time you submit, it's going to be a different pool of submissions that you're compared to. Our calendar will look slightly different. We do ask that you wait 30 days before resubmitting the same book. Even if you're going to change the category, the editors always consider alternate categories when they review a submission. So wait 30 days and then absolutely come back and submit again. That is the best way that you can give yourself the highest odds that your book will be sort of have the stars aligned, that it'll work with our readers' tastes and with the space that we have available on our calendar.
Yeah, resubmit it. I remember that's always been your advice. And I guess if you've got through to that very last stage and it's really a numbers game, as you say, about slots, and you end up unlucky, because it'll possibly come down to a bit of luck at that point for you as an author. So there is a reason to resubmit in 30 days. It's not as if there's something fundamental wrong with your book. It's just catching the right time. Okay, so they're the featured deals, and they are hugely powerful. And because of that, because this email is a warm received email by readers, you've started to open up this bottom third of it to an advertising program, which is probably a couple of years old by now.
Gosh, probably 4 or 5 years.
Is it really? Is it that old? Wow, things happen quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you developed this ad platform, and just talk to us about that and the difference between that and the featured deal, because you pay for a featured deal, right? It's a bit like advertising. Yes. You pay, and it can be a few $100s for a featured deal. So what is the difference between that and the advert?
There's a few differences. Yeah. So the feature deals are highlighted, curated placements in the email. Every single one of them is going to look the same. We write the blurb for that, and then we charge a flat fee based on the price of the book and the category. The ads appear. There's a dedicated space at the bottom of every email we send out. So every day to all of those millions of featured deal emails, as well as the new release alert emails we send when authors release new books. We've got emails with blog articles. So we're sending a ton of emails to our readers. And at the bottom of every one, there's a chance to have your ad show up to whichever particular reader has opened that email. So this is a auction-based ad platform similar to Facebook ads, AMS ads, Google AdWords, and it's entirely self-serve. So there's no selection process, which means that any author has the chance to get their ads and their book shown to BookBub readers through this placement. And you're bidding to reach readers. So you get to set your own target audience. You get to set your bid determines how much you're willing to pay. So the cost is really up to you. You've got a lot of control really over every element of that campaign in terms of what it looks like, who you want to reach. So there's a lot to fiddle around with, which we can talk about. But that's available to every single author to get their books in front of our audience of readers. And you know that when you serve an impression of your ad, it's reaching a BookBub reader who's opened an email from us. So they're actively looking for a book. They're coming to us to discover new books, to buy new books. So yeah, like you said, a very warm audience to reach. Yeah,
indeed. Okay, so let's talk about the targeting, because it's such an important part of any ads platforms. I know from the various campaigns that we run. So what are your targeting options?
Yes. So you've got the categories that our readers are subscribed to. So again, that's when they've opted in to BookBub. They let us know what genres they like to read. You've also got region and retailer preferences. So again, those are sort of the opt-in information that we collect from our readers. And we've got readers right now in the US, UK, Canada, India, and Australia. So those are the regions that you can reach. Retailers, again, is the Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, Kobo, and Google. And then the most powerful targeting option that we offer, and this is unique to BookBub ads, you can't target this way with featured deals, is you can reach readers who are fans of a particular author. So this includes any reader who's followed that author on BookBub to get updates about their books, as well as the readers who have clicked on that author's featured deals in the past, clicked on their profile or ad campaigns for that author's book. So a lot of different signals that we use, but basically any reader who's engaged with that author or their books on the BookBub platform is someone that you can reach when you target by author interest.
Yeah, that's interesting, because of course you're gathering all this data in the background. For instance, the clicks, if somebody's clicked on an author, this is something you won't necessarily release to the public, but you can, as an author, take advantage of by choosing those authors. And that seems to me to be probably the number one thought that should be in the mind of somebody using the ads platform is, who are my authors? Who do my readers like?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely one of the number one keys to success with this platform. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of new advertisers make when they come in is they'll target just by category, because that's very easy, right? My book is science fiction. I want to reach all the science fiction readers. Or they'll think about just the absolute biggest authors in that genre. So what happens in that case is you're reaching a really wide audience. And if your goal is exposure to a lot of readers, that can be a great strategy. But if you really want to think about which readers are most likely to buy your book, there's a huge range within science fiction and within fantasy, within contemporary romance, of readers who have very different tastes and preferences. And the deeper that you dig into comparable authors, so authors who write books that are really similar to yours, the more likely you're going to reach an audience of readers who's looking for the exact type of book that you are writing, and trying to get out to them.
Yeah, and your authors, we should say, it's not just indie authors, because the traditional publishing houses use BookBub as well. In fact, they use it quite a lot, I've noticed in my emails recently. So you will have the Robert Ludlums and Tom Clancy's, as well as other indie authors to target.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got really any author who has a following on BookBub you can target. So we'll display right in the ad setup form how many readers that author has in their audience. So you can see whether it's a couple 100,000 or a few hundred in some cases. And that would be a really, really niche audience at that point. But you have a ton of options in terms of which authors you might want to reach.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to come back to targeting a bit later, because it is such an important subject. But let's just talk about the advert itself. So what do people need to prepare in terms of artwork and copy?
The only thing that you have to prepare in advance is a 300 by 250 pixel image. And there are a lot of platforms that make it really easy to design something in that shape. So BookBrush is one, Canva is another. Those are the two I hear most often that authors are using to design their ad images. And I believe they have a choice where you can choose that exact shape and then customize it however you like. We also do have a very simple creative builder template right in the form. So if you don't want to mess around with any graphic design elsewhere, you can just upload a book cover, type in some text, and choose a background color, and we'll spin up a really simple sort of streamlined image for you. So that's a great option as well. And in terms of what to include in that image, the most important thing to remember is that everything in the image is all that a reader is going to see. So unlike an ad on Facebook where you've got a headline and a lot of other text that you can use, everything has to be contained in that image. And a reader is not necessarily going to know how you targeted them or why they're seeing that ad. They just know what they see in front of them. So think about, from your reader's perspective, what kind of information is going to be really appealing to them, to let them realize, oh, this book is exactly like the kind of books that I like to read. So your book cover is obviously a great thing to include. If you've got a deal price, that is also fantastic for the BookBub audience in particular, again, to hook them in, to introduce them to a new author. And then tropes are fantastic, quotes from other authors. We've got a ton of examples of really successful images on our blog, if you want to look for some examples of what kinds of designs work well.
So there's no extra copy, but there is space for copy within the image. That's what you're saying? Yes.
Yeah. And if you're doing a custom image, I mean, you could pack the whole thing full of text. We don't recommend that. You want to make sure it's still going to be easy to read at a glance when someone's just kind of scrolling through that email. But yeah, so you want to put any text that you want readers to see in the image itself.
Yeah. And one thing I'd definitely recommend is if you're not already on the BookBub reader list, get on there and start looking at the ads, and start picking out the ones that think work best. I mean, the book cover is important. And then I would say a simple text message. So it might just be a tagline. It might be, as you say, might be a quote or 5 stars and a quick quote like unputdownable, to quote Marx, something like that. Yeah, you don't want to get too wordy. I mean, Facebook used to have a rule, their 20% rule, to stop people, to discourage people overloading images with text. So there's a clue for you, is that people who run these platforms know that lots of text doesn't necessarily work. I don't know how long it is you have when people glance at a book cover. It's less than a second, I believe, something like that. So that's what you have to bear in mind. Okay, so you've got your image. You don't have to worry about copies. That's nice and easy. A bit like an Amazon ad, although you can put in one of them a line of copy, but mostly you are just thinking about your targeting, which I'm going to come back to now because it's so important. So you have this option with with authors. You have this option with your genres and so on. What are the pitfalls for people here? You've talked about making it too broad, so potentially just choosing thrillers. Once you start going into more niche areas, you can run out of audience though, can't you, as well? And I'm going to guess you've got to somehow find that sweet spot, whether you've got a big enough audience. And it's also the other thing to consider, just to throw this in there, is not to be overly competitive to give you a chance of scoring efficient ads. I guess I've summed up what you should do. It just sounds harder than it probably is, but it takes a bit of trial and error.
Definitely a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of different factors to weigh and to consider. So actually taking a step back, the first thing I think when you're coming to set up an ad is actually knowing what your goals are for that campaign. So having a really strong understanding of what you're trying to achieve. And that can be multiple things, but knowing sort of what the primary thing is. Is it you want to get a new release in front of as many readers as possible? Is it you want to drive cost-effective sales of the first book in a series? And knowing exactly sort of how much you're willing to spend, how much you're willing to pay, how much of a scale in terms of an audience you want to reach is really important from the outset in terms of knowing what is going to work for you and maybe what doesn't make as much sense. So you mentioned competitive. So let's say that you target one of the biggest authors in your genre, you might find yourself competing with hundreds of other ad campaigns where other authors came in and that was the first name that popped into their head. So that's the target that they pick. That means that in order to be the highest bidding ad for that audience of readers, you're going to have to pay a lot more for that campaign than if you found an author with maybe a slightly smaller following, but only, let's say, a dozen ads are targeting fans of that author. So the targeting has some bearing on how much your ads will cost and how hard it is for you to win impressions for the readers who fall into that audience. A lot of intersecting factors there.
Yeah. Well, it is like all these platforms, and it's a bit frustrating to Mark and me, and it will be, as we're going to come on to in a moment, Carlyn, yourself as an author of a course in our suite of courses, is that people tinker a little bit, don't see immediate results, and then leave a platform, which happens with Facebook, happens with Amazon ads. But unfortunately, there's no shortcuts to learning the subtleties of a platform, and there's gold there, but you have to dig, to use that metaphor clunkily. Okay, so the idea of finding your niche, of finding efficient ways of advertising, bit of trial and error, as you say. Your competition is mainly, I think, other indie authors. Are trad publishers using the ads platform as well at the moment?
They are using the ads platform, but I would say that indie authors are probably the primary advertisers using this tool right now.
Yeah, so this could be a good period for indie authors. I imagine in 3 or 4 years, the trads they do sort of tend to react a little bit slower to some technical innovations than indies do. We're a very agile lot. So it could be a really good period to get your book in front of up to 20 million people, but don't be that broad with your targeting to get in everyone. Okay, so now I gave a little secret away. You've done a course for us. It's actually in its second launch. We're going to have just coming up soon. I'm not sure exactly when this interview is going to go out, but Mark and I will make it clear when the ads course is going out. So you sat down, Carlyn, and you put together a really good comprehensive overview of this ads platform, more than we can possibly do in this half an hour interview. Just tell us a little bit about the course and who's it aimed at.
Yeah, absolutely. So the course is really aimed at someone who has not tried BookBub ads before, but my hope is that even if you have dabbled in it a little bit, or even have maybe run a lot of campaigns, that there are going to be useful nuggets in there for you. I find that there's always more to learn about this platform. There's a lot of nuance in terms of how the different targeting options interact and how the auction works. So my hope is that there's something in there for everyone, no matter what stage of your advertising journey you are at. So I break it down, both how our auction works, sort of the details of how your ad actually gets in front of readers, tips for every single part of that ad creation process. We've tried to make it as simple as possible, knowing that most of the people using this tool are going to be authors, not trained professional marketers. Although some authors are trained professional marketers, and they've certainly got a leg up. So we have tried to make this process as tailored towards promoting books as possible. So hopefully pretty straightforward to tackle. I'll talk about how to understand all of the stats that you get when you run a campaign, and how to assess them to make sure that your campaign is actually doing what you want it to do. how to run tests to improve your campaigns. And then I go over some case studies as well of effective ad campaigns that other authors have run for a variety of different goals, showing you how they went about setting up that campaign, what kinds of tests they might have run in advance, really digging into sort of the tangible examples there, sort of to see how other people have made this tool work for them.
Yeah. We haven't mentioned discounting strategy for your ads, but we know that obviously you have to offer a discount to be selected for a featured deal. And depending on it, I think probably you're going to side with free over 99 and 199 and so on. And certainly I would say they're more effective in my experience of being free. In terms of what you're doing with your BookBub ad, is it the same thing that you're going to find free will work better, get more response than the 99 cents or 199?
Yeah, as a rule, free is always going to get the most clicks. So we actually did an analysis of, I think, 1,000 images, looking at ones that had the word free in that image versus 99 cents, 199. And we've done that analysis for featured deals as well. And free is always going to get more clicks, and then followed by 99 cents and up from there. So including a deal price, and the lower the price, the better, the more likely you're going to get readers clicking on that ad. So again, in terms of thinking about what you want to accomplish, BookBub readers use deals to try new authors. It's a really low risk way to take a chance on someone new, but they are willing to pay full price for the authors that they already know and already love. So if you have a new release, that's a great chance to actually target yourself and to reach any readers who follow you on BookBub, have clicked on your deals in the past. Whereas if you've got, so let's say that book is $5.99, maybe you don't want to put that in the ad image, but use another hook. So again, if it's readers who are already familiar with you, you can say, this is the next book in that series that you know you love, or this is that character that you're already familiar with. Whereas if you're trying to pull new readers into a series, say the first book in a series, offering free or 99 cents is going to be on its own a really exciting hook for many of our readers. Again, to take a chance on someone that they maybe haven't heard of before. So your price actually interacts a lot with the audience that you're trying to reach and how successful you might be at convincing those readers to click on your ad and then learn more about your book.
Yeah. So it's important to remember that people are on the BookBub list, readers list, because of bargains, right? That's what's attracted them in there. I mean, it's access to new readers as well, but they are getting bargains, whereas Facebook and Amazon, not necessarily the case. So I'm thinking a good strategy will be you apply for a featured deal, which you don't get, which is usually the case. And it's the case with me and Mark, as well as everybody else. Sometimes you get them, which is great. But if you don't get them, you are going to discount that book for that deal. So here's an opportunity for you perhaps to then say, okay, I didn't get the featured deal. Let's run an advertising campaign using BookBub ads for that specific period at a discount. And that's probably going to be the best way you'll see results, rather than running an ad campaign at full price.
Yeah, in general, I would say that is true. And being tactical about when you use your ad campaigns, it's one marketing tool that's out there that's available to authors. So again, really thinking about, why am I running ads right now? What do I want to achieve? Why did I pick this book for these ads? Is going to be a good way to sort of set you up for success. And knowing what you want to achieve is also going to help you figure out if it's working or what you need to change to make it more effective.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, thank you very much for doing the course, Carlyn. It's
absolutely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's I know from personal experience that it's got a lot of work as well.
Yes, yeah.
And the really fun thing is that we have a mother-daughter team now within our course network. Because your mother, some people might not know, but Jenny Nash, who's a very regular contributor to this show, is also a course author amongst us. Isn't that funny that you've ended up working together like this? Did you foresee that a few years ago?
Gosh, did I foresee that? I mean, people asked me when I was growing up all the time, are you going to be a writer like your mother? And of course I was like, no, that's not me. That's her. But here I am working in the book world, just like she is. So in some ways it makes a ton of sense that we are both in the same industry, and it's a ton of fun to be working in overlapping spheres and get to both be guests on podcasts.
Yeah,
this is very fun. Good. Yeah.
Well, look, I hope I'm not giving away a secret here, but your mother did once tell me she read some of your writing, and she said it was. She said it was really, really good, and she doesn't say that lightly. And I know and then she said, "I know she's my daughter, but it was really." She's
quite biased.
I know, but she said it was really good. So I don't know if you say you're not a writer. I'm not sure if that's really the case, Carlyn. I think maybe
I have dabbled a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to be part of the indie author community and part of this world, and if you love books and love writing, not want to give it a try. So maybe someday. I certainly have not finished a full book at this point, but
that would be great. And
who
wouldn't want to read a Carlyn Robertson book? So, okay, Carlyn, look, thank you very much indeed. So the course is part of Ads for Authors. So it's I would say the triumvirate of advertising platforms you need to understand and make your decisions about are Facebook ads, Amazon ads, and BookBub ads, and we've got those three covered as well as lots of other things in the course. But to have somebody, we couldn't get Mark Zuckerberg to do Facebook ad course or Jeff Bezos to do Amazon ads, but here we have Carlyn from BookBub in the heart of the operation talking to you about the platform, and I think you've given a lot of sensible advice there about getting your expectations aligned before you use the platform. That's such an important thing to do. So thank you. I think the course looks great. I started dabbling before you did the course, and I've got it on my radar. And I've talked myself into this, by the way, of applying for a feature deal, not getting it, and then running a specific campaign to try and replicate what I was going to hope to do with the feature deal, which is to give a book a boost. So I'm now going to be listening to your course over the next few days, and we'll get those campaigns going.
Great. Yeah, it was really fun to have the chance to put together a course. Normally when I'm talking about ads, it's in a 45-minute or hour-long session, and that is not nearly enough time to get into all the details. So it was great to just get to dig into everything and sort of go through every single lesson, and I hope it's useful.
Yeah, it certainly is. Carlyn, I know we talked off air, there's some stuff coming up in the future with BookBub that you can't yet talk about, but we'll certainly have you back at some point when the next iteration of the ads platform or BookBub gets released. You're always welcome on the show, and thank you for all you do for the indie community. It's such as I said, you're the royal family in indies. It's such an important part of our community, and we all love a bit of BookBub. So yeah, thank you, and please pass it on to the team.
Of course, I will.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
There we go, Carlyn Robertson. Interestingly, talking to her, so she's moved across the States now in Minnesota, I think, from Cambridge, where BookBub are based, and it wasn't that long ago. I think everyone from BookBub pretty much worked in the office. But now they are, like a lot of the other companies, like ConvertKit and lots of other companies I know are now, ConvertKit always has operated with people from home spread around. I think BookFunnel's support team is spread across the US, mostly in Texas, but the new way of working, Mark, is ironically, we're getting an office. I don't know if you know that. We're going to get an office somewhere near Huntingdon, and you're going to have to work there 9 to 5, I'm expecting.
I don't like the sound of that. There certainly is a trend that way, isn't it? Of people doing that. But I'm doing it the other way around, starting to leave the office in Salisbury and just go to the new office, which will be just over that way, which is being built at the moment. So if anyone's hearing any dumper trucks ferrying rubble from over there to over there, that's
reversing.
Yes, that's the construction work going on. So lots happening here.
Good. Well, I'm expecting a full tour of the office when you open it. In fact, I'm expecting to be invited to cut the ribbon, because I'm the Honourable James Blatch. I'm
very true.
Very important person. So I'm also a published author, if you know that. So I think you should consider me.
Well, I'll consider you. You've been considered. I'll pick someone else.
Thank you for your application.
Scout's going to do it.
Yay! Scout the dog will bite through the ribbon. Good. Okay. Well, look. That's it, I think, from us. Don't forget, there is that live webinar with Carlyn. Can't get enough of that BookBub info. Monday night, it's going to be very valuable, very useful. If you go to selfpublishingformula.com/BookBub to sign up for that webinar. And just a reminder, for another 14 days or something like that, 10, 14 days, we have Ads for Authors open. It'll probably, almost certainly, the last time in 2021, your chance to get into the course that can change everything for you as an author. If you go to selfpublishingformula.com/Ads for Authors. That is it. Into the pool you go, Mark. Out into the sun I go, although I've got 2 more calls indoors. Then I go to the sun, and looking forward to it. Good luck, Scotland, and good luck, England. And all that remains for me to say is there's a goodbye from him.
And a goodbye from me. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Get show notes, the podcast archive, and free resources to boost your writing career at selfpublishingshow.com. Join our thriving Facebook group at selfpublishingshow.com/Facebook. Support the show at patreon.com/selfpublishingshow. And join us next week for more help and inspiration so that you can make your mark as a successful indie author. Publishing is changing, so get your words into the world and join the revolution with The Self-Publishing Show.